Despite having signed and ratified several international conventions on the protection and the promotion of rights of persons with disabilities, this category of people in Cameroon still cry of high-scale marginalization and discrimination at every level of the Cameroonian society. Some of the disturbing voices of persons with disabilities were echoed in Cameroon's economic capital city this day. And also in this edition of the news, we shall be having a senator, a member of the upper house of the Republic of Cameroon, who will be throwing more light on the questions from members of the upper house of parliament to Cameroon's finance minister on the very controversial 94 budget line of the state of Cameroon. The responses of the minister have been going viral on social media after he was seriously questioned by senators in the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé. We shall also be talking about Idiki. Idiki, it should be recalled, is one of the localities between the town of Buya and the city of Kumba in the southwest region of Cameroon. What has become of Idiki, one of the villages highly affected by the armed conflict with houses burnt and destroyed, is an answer we shall be giving to you in this edition of the news. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for choosing to listen to information on Equinoxe Television. We are on to the prime time newscast. We live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. We begin with the concerns and challenges of persons with disability across Cameroon. Those who converge on the economic capital city, Douala, cry of high-scale marginalization and discrimination from the Cameroonian people and institutions, even though the state of Cameroon has signed and ratified several conventions on the promotion and protection of the rights of persons with disabilities. They were speaking this December 3rd during activities marking the day for the rights and conditions of persons with disabilities. While our glory focuses on those who gathered in Douala in the following report.
Living with disability is a great challenge which Bekono Ayuk has been facing since the age of 5. Celebrating the International World Handicap Day this Friday, 3rd December 2021, under the theme Universal Accessibility for All, the leadership of handicapped people living with disability.
At the age of 5 years, through polio up to today, because I'm having 38 years. So I'm just happy to be here again to celebrate our World Handicap Day. And I love the theme of this year because there's a leadership of handicapped people living with disability.
The young lady of 38 years joined her voice with other association of handicapped persons here in the city of Douala to call on the government to establish stair rails in all public places for handicapped persons.
But what I'm pleading is that they should look at this problem because they say access in our team of this year. So the access now, we need a stair rail in the hospital, in our schools, even in the hotels, even in the bank, everywhere, because we are really suffering. There are times I will even come and stand on the sun because you can't climb up.
People living with disability often face difficulty in securing a job for themselves due to their condition.
No, it's not easy because when they just look at you with your disability, they pity you that you cannot climb the stairs.
The Association of Persons Living with Disability therefore call on the government to ameliorate the living condition of these handicapped persons and promote equality in the country.
And as persons with disabilities and handicapped persons commemorate the 3rd of December 2021, Equinoxe Television traveled to the restive southwest region, precisely to the Kupe Manengoba division, where we met with a young girl who's been having challenges. She also is disabled and the family is not been able to help her. She is going through serious challenges, living a disturbing life. We have details in the following report compiled by Charles Habane Ekome.
Bong Filberen has been handicapped ever since she was 7 years old. This teenager, who lives at the Silisi camp in Tombel, Kopema Ninguba division of the Restif Southwest region, tells us her story.
Ever since I was a child, I've been having difficulties in walking. My parents took me to many places. They took me to Kumba, Boya, Manyemeng, but to no avail. So when I grew up, they took me to Bamenda at Sajoka for my operation. So after the operation, the doctors they told me that I still have a problem with the right leg.
She further says the lack of finance worsened her health condition.
I asked them what was the problem. They have already operated me. They say another problem is there, that I need a kneecap replacement, and they told me that I should bring 3.5 million. That the right leg, the kneecap is bad. This is the right leg, as you can see. The knee is not flat. So I have suffered with this leg so much. I only managed to have ordinary level. So to have advanced level now is a problem because my legs are paining me.
The mother of the disabled teenager, by name Tavera, pleads on the support of benevolent people.
She cannot even go to the toilet. She cannot even bathe herself. I'm begging that anybody out there should help me.
It should be noted that December 3rd is the World Disability Day, and the number of people living with disabilities in Cameroon is dramatically increasing. This is due to demographic trends and increase in chronic health conditions.
Administrative officials of the Meme division and those of the Fakot division say that a Diki along the Kumba Boya highway is one of the villages where the highest number of kidnap cases have been recorded within the context of the armed conflict rocking the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. The senior divisional officer for the Meme division, Tundon Chamberlain, made the declaration while visiting a construction site for the rehabilitation of the stretches that are deplorable on the road linking Buya to Kumba in the Meme division. Our reporter, Simat Jikan Gabriel, went to the site and compiled the following report.
A motor grader already excavating. We are at Ediki, a village situated along the Kumba Boya Highway. It is the start of the rehabilitation work on this stretch of road that has started.
From the ongoing of this project, you know, there was a particular point that the speed was less than 10 kilometers. The vehicle comes and stops, and another one passes. But at least we have done everything to see that the road is passable with a very good speed. While walking, we discovered that the foundation of the road has been touched so much. So you see, we are excavating to put in new materials and compact very well to come up with a very good bearing capacity.
Ediki village, where the work is ongoing, has recorded a lot of kidnapping since the start of the crisis in the two English-speaking regions. The contractor who is rehabilitating the road have been given a deadline by Public Works Minister, which they must respect.
Project duration is 2 months. The cost of this project is 86 million francs.
As a result of the ongoing work on this stretch of road situated along the National Road number 8, the senior divisional officer of Meme was at the site to evaluate the work done this far.
All of us very happy that we realized that work has effectively started, and we are going to put pressure for them to complete that work at time, to allow people to travel from Boya to Kumba without any fear. I will also seize this opportunity to congratulate the population. All of us, we realize that Diki, which used to be very, very, very dangerous for the whole population, but all of the population, they have come back.
It is usually said that where a road passes, development follows, but some road users say the road is not the most important thing they want now. With the rehabilitation work on this stretch of road, several road users are hoping that the work will last for long.
Officials of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication of the University of Buea say that one of its master's students, and the declaration especially came from the head of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, who says that one of his master's students has contributed knowledge on how to better the corporate world in Cameroon and also boost the performances and outcome as well far as economic activities and products of enterprises in Cameroon is concerned. The head of the Department of JMC, as it is commonly known, was speaking during the Master's Defense Thesis organized at the campus of the University of Buea. Derek Jato tells us more in the following report.
The corporate world and its challenges.
And consequently, the idea of satisfaction becomes jeopardized for workers.
This is as a result of some gaps in many institutions.
The absence of evaluation in corporations to ascertain the level of satisfaction of internal stakeholders, and also the absence of the assessment of CSR outcomes like staff retention, because when this is not done, there's a tendency that workers leave the company for greener pastures.
And economists are worried that an economy like that of Cameroon might not come out of its snail pace of growth anytime soon because of the strained relationship between staff and management in many companies. And the University of Buea, Faculty of Social and Management Sciences, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication says effective communication can cement the staff management rift for a better corporate world. And Blasius Ngome, a master's student in corporate communication, while defending his master's thesis titled Staff Evaluation of Corporate Social Responsibility, expatiated on the above hypothesis.
There may be a necessity for the training of staff representatives and even trade unions to defend the rights of workers.
To Professor Kingsley Ngange, head of Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, this scientific piece of work has been tested and proven to be able to bring the long-awaited change in the corporate world.
This is research, good research, now available for public consumption. And we only urge the candidate and the supervisor, that's me, to be able to transform this dissertation into a book, why not?
The former director of public relations, communication and translation in the Cameroon Lone Oil Refinery scored an A grade, graduating top in his class.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up is talking points. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is a member of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament, Barrister Senator Henry Kemende.
Senator Barrister Kemende.
Senator Barrister Kemende Henry, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you. We begin with this very viral extract and response of Cameroon's Finance Minister, Lipo Motazi, at the Upper House of Parliament, responding to questions from senators. Probably you who asked him that question directly on Budgetary Head 94. Were you satisfied with the question? And the concern would be, why is this viral? And the question we know is linked to one of the interventions made by the state so far to a private enterprise in Cameroon, and some persons thought that it was unheard of and way too much.
Well, I think I'm the one who asked that question, who asked the question to the Minister of Finance. And my intention of asking that question was to at least give Cameroonians the chance to be able to understand what is happening. And because most of the time, I think government communication has been limited these days. Government has to come out, government has to be proactive. When some misinformation is going on, or when something is rumored, the government has to come out to communicate, to clear the air. So that was an opportunity for me to get the Minister of Finance to clear the air with regard to this Head 94 of the 2020 settlement bill. And that is actually what I asked him to explain to the Cameroonian population, whether what we are hearing about budgetary allocations haven't been met under that head to some media outfits. and to some educational institution
of
higher learning, whether it is true. And it was not for my personal, I never had any particular interest in us, but I was asking as an elected official for the Cameroonian people to be clarified on an issue which is making waves in the social media. And there are arguments even in Equinoxe the day before going to meet with the Minister of Finance at the Senate plenary. I had watched a debate over Equinoxe, over your TV station, and where that issue was highly debated. Such things, I think there was a place for the minister to come around and explain. And to say whether his explanation really satisfied me or not, I think I should send back the questions to the Cameroonian population. Whether the reply of the minister, did it satisfy them?
Of course, the extract is going viral, and reactions are that the minister did not come out so clear as far as the response is concerned, because the minister intend ask senators to go back to the ministry and refer to understand that it's not just some particular structures who benefited at the time that have benefited since that segment of the budget was instituted. The minister referred senators back to the ministry to refer and see others who benefited.
You see, my worry and the worry of Cameroonians is to know how allocations how grants are met under that particular budgetary head 94.
Exactly.
In fact, it was for him to explain how other Cameroonians who are in need could accede to that particular budgetary allocation, which is called government or state intervention to private enterprises. That's which is intended to encourage some activities in the private sector. It was actually for him to explain how people can get by that budgetary head, because TV outfits that Cameroonians may think that they do a better job, or they do sacrifice on behalf of the population. They needed to have been given that push. They never qualified under that particular head. So it was for him to explain to Cameroonians how you can come by that budgetary head, and how those who acceded to it, what impact they created on the Cameroonian nation, such as to warrant giving taxpayers' money, using taxpayers' money to support their initiative. So, in fact, the minister was supposed to explain, but the explanation he gave was that others, to the best of my knowledge, he accepted. That's one good thing about his outing. He accepted that he has actually the budgetary allocations that are mentioned in the social media. We actually make, that is to Isam Institute and to Vision Card Television. So he accepted, and then went further to say that actually others have had allocations that are far more than that. But I think that is not actually, to my mind, that is not actually what the Cameroonians wanted to hear from him, whether others have been made such allocations, but whether how
the conditions,
that you must fulfill, and the criteria
to be able to benefit.
Yes,
because many argue that budget, the budget head 94 is a window that to some extent favors embezzlement and mismanagement.
Well, Cameroonians have their right to think that way, and what the government
especially when a government official is unable to give clarity on conditions and conditions of eligibility.
I am happy that the minister's explanation went wild, and people got to appreciate whether he answered the questions correctly or not. But what to the best of my knowledge, what he had to do was to sensitize the public as to how to, and to give good reasons. And even in a press conference, not necessarily answering questions at the Senate, he ought to have come out in a press conference and throw light on that budgetary allocation, because it's how much money that is going out of taxpayers' money to that budgetary, under that budgetary allocation. And secondly, I equally asked him to know why they cannot favor economic operators in the war-ravaged, or the conflict-ravaged regions of the far north, northwest, and southwest regions, because we have economic operators who have been courageous enough to remain on the ground despite all this security crisis that has been going on in these three regions. And they needed, I think one would have thought that they needed the government's government subventions, government intervention, to be able to help them out of the economic quagmire in which they find themselves. But then people who are in non-troubled areas, people who are in safe zones, then they are instead. And then what he explained too, which baffled me, was the fact that these people are well-to-do. In fact, they have been, as he explained, one of those persons whom he made mention of, he's been able to buy a television station out of this country in a white man's land, and he said that was enough for him, for us to be able to congratulate the minister, congratulate the particular economic operator. But I think that economic operator has money enough to be able to not only to buy an outfit like that in Cameroon or in Africa, but to go to the white man's land and buy it. So I don't think
intervention should be directed to those who need it most.
Those who need it most. The taxpayers' money is meant to help people who could generate income, generate growth in order to employ the youths who are languishing outside in their numbers.
We're not adding money like a
it's just like they describe it in my vernacular as digging the valley to increase the hill. Senator Barrister, you no doubt the most vocal senator, member of the upper house of parliament. You are noted since the start of the young people crisis. You held government ministers and officials to task anytime they had to come defend their activities at the upper house of parliament. But you, like other officials of your party, be it at the lower house of parliament, I'm referring now to the SDF party, seem to have been piping down on your interventions and open statement and frank statements as far as the young people crisis is concerned, though the crisis is deepening further. You know, this crisis, the crisis you have just made mention of, could make somebody who is a doom, could make a doom to speak. In fact, we've spoken. In fact, I've spoken my bile. I've said all what I could say over this crisis. But it's like you are talking to somebody who is nonchalant, somebody who doesn't want to, who is like, as they describe in Pidgin, Ngome. If you are talking to Ngome, when you are talking to somebody who cannot hear you, what do you expect? What do you expect? What can you do further than that? In fact, it is unfortunate that we find ourselves in this type of situation where it appears as if you are talking, each time you are talking to yourself. It's like you are talking to yourself. So nobody hears you. But then I think that will not stop us from talking. That's the best thing that we can do in the circumstances as elected officials or as members of parliament. This is the best we could do, to talk, because that is where. And then what I've discovered is it is a matter of individual initiatives. We have never been holding meetings to discuss on what to say or how to analyze a bill that is coming up. We of the SDF, we have not. Maybe we'll get to that. We have not been holding meetings to decide on what we have to criticize on a bill or on this or that bill, or what action to take under this or that circumstance, which I can see. Is
that a sign of disorder within the
no, it's just a little setback, which eventually I think we are moving towards. We'll regularize it, because normally we are supposed to organize it in such a way that we know what is in a bill, what the pitfalls of any bill that is been sent to parliament. We sit in a group. The group may not be the official parliamentary group as they call it, but it may be a group of the SDF senators. We sit down and analyze and see where we can pick the pitfalls in any bill, and then when we reach the floor, everybody should take his turn we can divide the questions. That's my opinion. That's the way I look at how it has to be done, and eventually we'll get to that.
You're raising an interesting point, but interestingly, you are not the only SDF senator at the upper house of parliament. You've been talking alone. One would have expected others to join you in an action like we've seen your colleagues of the lower house of parliament some years ago taking the deliberations at the National Assembly hostage and crying out for something to be done.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that eventually we will get to, since the situation is becoming serious. Yes. We may get to that.
At the level,
I'm not seen as alone fighting a one-man battle.
At the level of the upper house of parliament, how difficult is it to speak when your colleagues, irrespective of their party background, are quiet on an issue?
Well, I think that we all have our individual, besides the fact that we have been elected, we were elected on many platforms, or we have been selected by our parties on many platforms. I think one of my own strong points for which I was selected, I cannot determine, but it's just because I talk. I criticize, and I do objective. I don't do armchair criticism. I criticize something which is not being done well, and I try to prefer a solution, how it could be done better. And it's unfortunate that we have been preferring those solutions, how it could be done better, and it has not been heeded to all the time. But then at least the first day I talked in the upper house of parliament, I think the head of state heeded to it. All those people who were holding 2 offices to that of being a senator, they were all asked to resign from the other office.
Yes.
So I cannot say we have been working. I've been fighting a vain battle.
Actually, that was a good.
And the fact that they don't react to it positively immediately doesn't mean that it's not taken note of. I think everything that we say.
Thank you very much, Senator. We're glad having you, and it's been interesting discussing issues with you.
Thank you very much. The pleasure has been mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, still Equinoxe Television. We shall be taking you to Yaoundé on newspapers and back to Douala. It will be Equinoxe with Serge Alemboto.